Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and today we're going to be talking about art and life, and really how you can actually, well, you are, not just actually, you are the artist of your life. And I've got an awesome guest today who I met recently through Facebook, actually. And his name is Martin Arkenstone. So welcome, first off, to Live, Love, Engage, Martin.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Well, I am really delighted because we've had a couple good conversations already, and I'm delighted to share your wisdom and with our audience. So let me tell you a little bit about who Martin is. He is a natural born artist. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see he is coming to us live from his studio. He's got lots of artistic tools in the background there. But other than that, he's also a healer by calling and a mentor by choice. He describes himself as a good egg. I agree. Highly creative with a knack for details, and he confidently guides people to find their artistic vein to sculpt the life of their dreams. And he is also a stone sculptor, a mastermind leader based on the principles of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He's also an empowerment coach, emotion code practitioner, and a #1 international best-selling author. And I think that's where we're going to start off today, because I know you actually have just recently completed, been part of, you are as a co-author in this book. So can you tell us a little bit about the book and how what it's all about and what your contribution to the book is?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The book started, or the idea, the project started somewhere in January, and we plan to create a book together with all the awesome tools that we have been using for years to have success in life. And we felt like that we wanted to put that out in the world. And it was interesting that just about in that time, the COVID started, the COVID virus just spread it in the world, and a lot of people had to stay home. And we, as humanity, really are challenged with that, with a total new way of how we relate to life and what's possible and what's being limited in our lives right now. And I think it's so fitting that this book actually comes out right now, or it actually came out a few weeks ago. And so the purpose of the book, I think, is to voice our success and how we got there. Everything we've written, I think, comes from a place of think and grow rich. I think in my mastermind, or the group, I'm calling the mastermind of the group that were purposed solely for that, to create a book. I think we all kind of like had that background of think and grow rich, and I think in life, for me, masterminds always have played a big role to be able to complete some bigger goals. And I think for me, be part, even though I haven't written the whole book, but contributing a chapter for me was a big challenge, because I never really wrote a book or really written down, well, part of my history, a biography, and how I overcame some of my bigger challenges in life. Not just as an artist, but as a human being, because also we are human beings. We have feelings, we have emotions, and usually those are the things that we struggle most, and those are also the things that's going to decide even if we're going to be successful in life, or maybe struggle in life. Um, so it was also really great to do this with a group of people who already wrote some books. And I must say that it was a little bit intimidating in the beginning because working with all these people, and I also must say that I was proud of myself because I was one of the first one of them who actually turned in my pages. So I was really, I mean, that's part of like being in a group, being in a group that really is really so supporting and like teach me and coach me and inspired me and helped me to move forward with um, what I wanted to put into words, and also like writing every day a little bit, like a page or something like that, really helped. And then have the people who could like help me to make sense of it, and then actually creating a story out of it. And it was like it was a really deep kind of an experience for me. It's almost like I'm seeing the mirror of myself, because it's like it's about my life, and it's about the things I did in my life, and how certain things weren't so good and certain things really helped me, and really revisiting places that were painful, and also revisiting places that really helped me to move forward. It was a really good experience. And even I should just anybody have that experience someday, to write down and publish whatever it is you want to share, because it's a really deep kind of a experience, and one that inspires me so much that I know that I'm sure I'm gonna write a book myself at this point. Because when you get this far and you have your
Right.
published author and you have a bestseller, and you can do it.
Yeah.
You know the steps, and I can do it, and I know I could write a book myself, and get the help of people who edit it for me and make all that stuff. I don't need to know everything. I just need to put stuff on paper. I mean, that's
Exactly.
that's what I learned. I just need to put stuff on paper. You can get help to make sense of the rest,
Right.
having other people work with you. And that's the kind of great thing when you're in a mastermind, is like you can really get stuff together.
Absolutely. Now, what is your chapter called in the book?
So my chapter is called "Everybody's an Artist." I was remembering a time in the 80s. I think it was about mid 80s, when a German artist said, quite a famous one, said, "Everybody's an artist," and it was very thought provoking, because we have such a stereotype about who is an artist, who is not. And a lot of people see themselves not as an artist, because maybe they haven't had like a great experience with doing something creative or so, or they never really were um, uh, um,
Encouraged, maybe?
yeah, encouraged, or being around people who are creative, or it's
Yeah.
been discouraged. I know when I went in school, it was discouraged quite a couple times, because my teacher thought, well, whatever I'm doing, it doesn't make sense, and it wasn't that great, and I didn't really agree. And it's always when you have people around you that critic is good, but if somebody says, you don't have it in you, or it kind of takes away from that joy,
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think I can see that some people just kind of turn off their um, creativity, you know. And especially, I mean, like I said, artists have such a stereotype, you know, the poor artist, you know, there's not really, can't really make any money,
Mhm.
and so it's not really a job, and so people don't really encourage to do it, and so I think yeah, it's a bit stigmatized. So, and and in my chapter, everybody's an artist. I feel that um, that everybody by birth is an artist because we kind of grown or birthed with what I call like a blank canvas. You know,
Mhm.
it's like life starts somewhat with a blank canvas. It's not quite blank because when we're born in this world and we take some stuff on from our ancestors, so it's not quite clean. But while we're growing up till we're adults, we have a lot of people who like put their paint
Mm.
on our canvas, you know.
Yeah.
And then when we're out there into the world and supposed to function and be successful, our plate is already, our background is already, and everything is already been painted by probably other people than yourself,
Mm.
which then is really hard for a person to function,
Yeah.
because in the schooling system and how we are brought up, we're not really brought up in a way of self-awareness and you know, taking responsibility and um, making sure that, you know, kind of developing that creativeness in ourselves, you know, because it's been taken away. Because when people always say what you need or what you have to do, you kind of lose that. And
Mm.
I think I was lucky that I knew right away what I wanted to do, which is stone carving,
Mhm.
because I had a really good experience, and so I did an apprenticeship in Switzerland, which where I'm from
Mhm.
originally, and I worked for about, you know, 30 years in that profession, mostly for companies that were restoring old historic buildings that were made or
Okay.
are made out of stone to
Right.
preserve history. So like cathedrals and churches and castles and things like that. So I was always around something creative, um, um, something touchable, you know,
Yeah.
something. So I think that really helped me in a sense of kind of like keeping my eyes open for certain things in life, and other things maybe less. But so in the book, I found that creating a piece of art, it's very much the same principles as, I would say, creating the life of your dreams.
Mm.
How is that? And I find that anybody who creates something artful has some kind of a vision or
Mm.
an idea or
Right.
something that think like, I want to do that, or I'm curious how that's going to look like when I do that, or I want to create that and have something beautiful or surprise people or whatever it is. There may be very different motivation, but there's always some motivation there that um, I think that needs to be there, like what Napoleon Hill says, a burning desire, you know, to create something to a definite end.
Mm.
And then in art is the same thing. There is a vision, there's an idea, and I think in life it's the same thing. You got to have a vision or an idea or something you want to pursue that you feel passionate about. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to get there, you know, because life throws challenges at you. And in art too, sometimes you hit an issue when you make some, when you, for example, when you carve a stone, maybe there's some issue or something and you have to figure it out. So the road to create something to success is never like just a straight line up. It's always a valley and a mountain. It goes always up and down, but but to have a burning desire is the first important thing. The next thing that I find, once I have an idea, I got to make a plan. I got to, like, for example, make a drawing, make some kind of a plan. I need to know what kind of a rock I need, what the tools that I need. I maybe have to make a model so I can visualize it. So visualizing is something really important in making art. You got to already, for me, for me, it's so important to already see how the finished product looks like in
Right. Yes.
3D and
Yeah.
Technicolor and the whole thing. I
Yeah.
gotta be able to see that to be able to produce it. If I can't see it, I can't
Yes.
produce it.
Right.
And I think in life, it's the exact same thing. You gotta have not just a vision, but you've got to be able to see it as if you already finished it or made it, and how it feels and it looks like. And otherwise, you also don't really have a base of excitement.
Yeah.
But if you
That's
can
true.
really see it and almost like smell it and feel it and all that stuff, I think that's what creates the excitement.
Mm.
So putting that on paper, that excitement, that's important to make a plan. Because, for example, working with stone, you can imagine that I don't have a lot of margin to make mistakes, because
That's true.
anything I chisel off, is gone.
Yeah.
It's not just like I can glue it up back on or something. So I have to really know what I want. And that's why it's so important to make a plan.
Hmm.
I think in life, it's also very important to, once you know where you want to go, to make a plan, um, so you don't have to deal with uncertainty, which can be quite, if you're in uncertainty, it's so hard to make a decision. If you don't make a decision, you
Yeah.
procrastinate.
Right.
And so it's really important to kind of like see, okay, first I do this, then I use this chisel, and then I use that, and then I use this tool, and then after that I use this tool, and then I get this far, and then I cut this piece out and all that. You kind of can see that and make a plan, how to approach it, the tactics, or the, of how I approach that sculpture. I also have to think like, because each time, I mean, basically what I do is, when you make a sculpture, you make the piece smaller, so you have to really take in accountable uh, that you make it weaker and weaker and weaker. So you have to figure out, where do I first have to take some material without weakening something too much.
Mm.
So when I work on it, it will break off or something. So it's kind of and I think in life, in a way, it's similar, that the better plan I have, uh, the probability that I get there is much higher than if I
Right.
don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And I know with plans, sometimes in life, sometimes they need to be changed, because,
Mhm. Yeah.
you can't always control everything in life.
Right.
That's maybe a bit different than in creating a sculpture, because if I have a piece of rock, then I probably pretty much know what to expect.
Mm.
But I'm just saying that flexibility is always good too. That know that if something doesn't work out, and that can happen too. It happened to me before, that I was sculpting on a piece of stone and it fell apart. It just cracked in the middle, and it's what you do. It's like, get another one, start over again. And that's
Right.
and I think in life that happens all the time, that we do something and it doesn't work out. That doesn't mean to stop doing it. It
Exactly.
just means, maybe we'll have to try out something else, or, and I think that's important, which we get to the third step, which is, stepping into action,
Mm.
executing the plan, being perseverant, and not deviate too much from what you have planned unless you have to. And I think, and then the fourth kind of what I found also really important is in well, it's something that will happen in art a lot of times, even in stone carving, is that I kind of start with a stencil and draw the lines and know where to cut and all that. But at one point, the lines are gone,
Mm.
and I can't make any more lines because I can't measure anymore because it's not square piece. Maybe it's round or something. And at one point, it's just kind of it just has to do with faith and trust
Mm-hmm.
and skill
Right.
and just knowing. It's kind of like a how should I explain that? For example, when people who play an instrument, they're so good, like people who are professionals and they're really good, they don't even think anymore where they have to
Yeah.
put their
Right.
fingers.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
just do. It's just kind of like it. Their instrument is part of their body,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's that kind of a thing of letting go of everything you learned,
Mm-hmm.
just and just have that trust and just be guided to exactly know when to stop
Right.
because it's finished.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that trust and it's that surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yes.
I think
Absolutely.
the same again in life. You make a plan, you want to, but at one point, it's important to surrender because we know that we can't control everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the COVID, suddenly the world ticks in a completely different way because there's a lot of things that we can't do anymore, but there's other ways to compensate for that
Yeah.
or even make it better. And I think letting go of that, maybe of that it has to be exactly like that,
Right.
and let go of that and let something much bigger come through. And I think in art, you have an idea, you have a plan, but at one point you have to let go of that and just let creation do its job and something much bigger. And that's what they call, or that's what we call, um, uh, as artists. That's when we call being in the zone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's kind of like letting go and just kind of like it just create. I think is one of the highest um, enjoyable experiences for me. It's kind of like where time just loses its meaning and it's
Mm-hmm.
just that detachment.
Yeah.
I think that happens, and it's awesome. And I think life can be just the same thing, not just in creating art, but living your life that way can also be that living in that zone more and more, and and just being able to witness, the creation of life and being grateful to be part of that, uh, and enjoy the process. And I think that's in life. I know there's struggles, but I think a lot of thing is mindset, and I really think that life is meant to be enjoyed, and the process of creating something should be an enjoyable process. Um,
Absolutely.
I think that's important. So
Yeah.
that's about what I try to capture in my
Mhm.
chapter.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, I know I've found it's really about trusting your instincts, when you're talking about getting into the flow. And it's just letting, being able to let all of your experience and your training, just everything come together and just trusting that what is meant to come out will come out. 'Cause I know I've experienced that in writing. I'll maybe sit down to write and all of a sudden I get an idea and things just start going, and I maybe intended to be there for 10 minutes and it's, half an hour later, and I've got a lot more done. And I think that can absolutely happen in other parts of, whatever you're doing in your life, as long as you mentioned, as you are enjoying it, is important. There was one thing though, and this just actually struck me the other day, that it amused me. So I just feel, or I thought it was interesting that you are doing stone sculpture and your last name ends in stone. So have you ever, did that ever really occur to you that, perhaps you really were sort of divinely meant to do the work that you do? Because somehow along the way, um, you seem to be meant to work in stone. I don't know.
Right, that's a good question. Actually, my name Arkenstone is a name that I have given myself
Ah, okay.
because of what I'm doing, because
Oh,
it
okay.
was much more fitting than my family name,
Hmm.
which which pretty much was a different kind of profession that
Okay.
people used to do like in the old days, and nobody does it anymore, and I felt like it was time to give myself a different name, and also because of the reason my Swiss name, because I moved here 10 years ago to California, that most people can't pronounce it.
Oh.
Um, so I chosen that name, which is also a name from a lot of people probably will recognize this, but it's from the Hobbits.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Hobbits and the Lords of the Ring.
Hmm.
So I was always a bit inspired by myth and those kinds of stories, and because it's highly creative, and it takes my imaginations in places I like, and I think that's an important part in life to. Um, I'm not talking about daydreaming, but I'm
Hmm.
talking about
Visualizing.
um, visualizing and taking
Yeah.
your mind's places where you're excited about things.
Hmm.
Like when we were children, we were making stories up of like maybe being an astronaut, or and then you go build something out of cardboard and you play being an astronaut,
Right.
or a car driver, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
You kind
Yeah.
of like make, and we kind of lost that as an adult, to just play with these thoughts, and just let them carry us away. I think it's a way of meditation, in a way,
Hmm.
of kind of like just going into a world of imagination and creation.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I know that you mentioned at the beginning that the mastermind that you're um, involved in, and that you wrote the book. The group members went together and created this book, that you were following the principles of Think and Grow Rich, um, in the mastermind. What drew you to that material?
Well, that started about 9 years ago, and I took a seminar with Jack Canfield,
Hmm.
and he referred to Napoleon Hill a lot.
Okay.
And Mastermind was also one of the big things that, since that seminar, I always was in some kind of a mastermind in my life.
Hmm.
So I think, because the book really teaches you two important principles. Napoleon Hill talks about it as like the secret, in
Hmm.
the book, the
Right.
two principles,
Yeah.
which you have to look for yourself where they are. And most people don't understand them, but because it's not really a secret, I can talk about it. And there are two things: you must have a burning desire,
Hmm.
and you must be in a mastermind
Hmm.
to have success. That's what differentiated successful people from people who are not successful in life, because I think it's so important that we surround ourselves with positive people um, who are lifting you up, who whatever kind of like crazy idea you have, that they don't like take you down for it. You know, kind of
Right.
like, okay, let's see how I can support you to do that,
Hmm.
to create whatever you feel passionate about. And I think to be around with people, surrounded with people who are um, have that commitment, and I think what's also important is to be with people who are, well, go givers, people who are
Hmm.
other centered, and they're out there because they want to help other people. And I think it's so important in this time that we live right now. We kind of come from a time of where everything is about, survival of the fittest. It's like go getting. As long as you can get, go get.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if other people are gonna, if you're gonna take away things from other people. It's just gonna get and get and get, instead
Yeah.
of like taking steps, like almost like Native Americans, who think of like with every step you take. So the question is, and I think we all have to ask ourselves sometimes, is what I'm doing of the highest purpose? Is it going to help others and myself just as well, or if is it just like a really egoistic idea that only like helps me, for me to get rich and for everyone else get poorer. I think that's also part where fulfillment comes from. Joy and fulfillment the the action of giving, helping other people so they can feel better. They can have experience where they get into the zone and really enjoy what they're doing, and passing that on to other people so they can get excited about their lives and things like that. I think it's like a it's like the mustard seed. It's like when one person can plant the seed in someone else's life, and they can have some kind of a breakthrough, and then they plant the seed, and it kind of just takes off, and it has a life on its own. And I think this is something that's really important in this time where we live in, that more and more people come together with a positive mindset, with a giving mindset, um, to help this earth to become a better place where the generations after us have the possibility of living their lives of their dreams, of creating that. Because I think it's a birthright of everybody to be birthed here and to live the life of your dreams.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's important to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I've found, and I believe Napoleon Hill has said this in the book as well, is that when you do bring a group of people together, the reason they call it the mastermind is because it's like all of that brain power is working together, becomes like this one brain, and that uh, because you're working with different people who have bring to the table their own life experiences and their own talents and gifts and abilities, and suddenly you can come up with awesome ideas that you would possibly either never have come up with on your own, or it would have taken you a heck of a lot longer to do so. So I know that's one of the reasons I love being in masterminds as well, is just being part of that collaboration. And it just sometimes just being in the presence of other people, all of a sudden, even you can just come up with a new idea, even on your own, that again, that maybe you wouldn't have thought of, but because that person said one little thing, and it just kind of opens up your head to something. And but I do agree, you do need to come to it from a place of giving as opposed to getting. Because when I was trying to form a mastermind a couple of years ago, and I was interviewing people, and one woman was just like, well, I just want to know that this is going to be worth my time and what I'm going to be getting out of it, as opposed to, how can I serve? Because I think the more that you can serve, then you will get stuff out of it. I don't know. Has that been your experience? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I think commitment, I think it should go both ways. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it won't work. Because
right.
if somebody just comes to take, well, they're
Mhm.
even going to be asked to leave,
Mm,
or the group is going to fall apart, because
yeah.
it's like not, people don't get, I mean, it's like you also should be in there, of course, to get something out of it,
Right. Yeah.
but just put as much into it,
Yeah.
I think that's important. And I've seen that in the past, that in masterminds that just came together, that if the commitment level is not there, if people think like, mastermind, it's kind of nice to have, it's a nice option, but if I don't feel like it, I'm not going to maybe show up next week or so,
Right.
and when people don't show up, it takes the whole group down. And because it's not just an option, it's about your life.
Yeah.
You're creating your life here. You're asking other people to help you to be part of that creation, to give you some feedback,
Hmm.
maybe help you to see your life or your challenge in a whole different light.
Right.
Maybe there's some inspiration. There's something fantastic that happens in a mastermind where people are in a spirit of harmony, which
Hmm.
means get people together who understand each other.
Yeah.
Um, that people, like a group of people, can somehow tap into something much higher,
Mm.
in a
Right.
in a universal storage of information that is not available just to one person, but it's available to a whole group of people who are in harmony with each other.
Right.
And I think that's when you allow this to happen, I think a lot of great things can happen, and you can get excited about things. And I think the excitement is what's important for us to be able to finish our projects.
Mm.
Without excitement, people sooner or later will lose interest, and it'll be a lost cause. And I think that's true in anything, even in a relationship,
Right.
in a family.
Yeah.
It's like if excitement gets, it's like in a relationship, in the beginning there's an excitement, there's love, there's
Hmm.
excitement, there's passion and all that. But if you don't nurture that, people lose interest, they leave, you
Yeah.
know. So it's
Absolutely.
important in a mastermind, people are really giving and are committed
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
have some kind of a goal or a vision that they feel passionate about.
Hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, excuse me. So, you do a lot of different things. So, you're very, um, got a lot of interests in not only working with actual physical materials, but then also helping people as well. Um, and I don't know if you can really choose necessarily, but is there, um, how should I put this? Is there, what's your favorite thing maybe about whatever you do, and whether it is art or in working with people? I'll kind of go that way.
Well, I think, my favorite thing, I think one of my favorite thing is sharing.
Mm.
I mean, it's great to be an artist and to have time in the studio to myself and
Mm.
create things, but really, art needs to be shared.
Mm.
And I like to see um, people reacting to my art. Of course, I hope it's always positive in some ways. I mean,
Right.
I know that I can't please everybody, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's not my thing to try to please people. But I think in general, people like or even love what I do,
Hmm.
and I think that's probably one of my favorite thing is to bring even some joy into people's life, or as a healer,
Hmm.
if you can call it that way, or I'm calling myself more like a practitioner, but I think healer is what's usually used
Hmm.
as a language that people understand. As a emotion co-practitioner, which I have learned several years ago, because I felt like life life sometimes goes in places that are pretty dark,
Hmm.
and it's good to have some tools to be able to get out of that darkness and more back into the light. And I saw, for me, in the beginning, it was a burning desire on behalf of myself to figure my life out. It's like, why are there things that holding me back? Why I'm afraid of doing this or that? Seeing other people doing things with ease where I struggled.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I had to ask myself questions and do some emotional work. And I think some of my favorite things is also to be available to other people to um, get past their emotional issues,
Hmm.
because I know how much it has helped me, and it's nice to see people um, being freed, and having less of a baggage to walk around with. And
Right.
because, like I said earlier on, I said, it's like we're born with somewhat blank canvases, and then they get soiled along the way by others.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that in later in life, or even earlier in life, but we got to clean that.
Yeah.
We got to clean that canvas so we can put our own life on it, our own dream on it, and not someone
Hmm.
else's. To live our own life, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, working on our emotional baggage. And I think so that's another really favorite thing of me, to help people um, getting cleaning their canvases so they can be highly creative. And I think being having the trust of people
Hmm.
to be part of their journey, I think is for me is very, very satisfying.
Mm, awesome. Well, that leads me to my next question. If someone wanted to be able to learn more about the work you do and in the world, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Well, the best way to connect is would be by email or phone.
Mm,
And I also have two web pages. One is martinarkenstone.com, which is for my art.
okay.
You guys, if someone wants to go out there and see some of my art, it's on my web page. And I also have a coaching healing web page where I lead people through those steps that we're talking about.
Mm,
Um, Especially people who feel kind of like, I'm stuck and sick and tired of being in a treadmill.
yeah.
And it just doesn't go anywhere, and it's just kind of like dulling me out. And I want to, enjoy life and be creative, and you know do the things I love to do. I think that's really important, and I think that's important for this life, for this world to heal, when people start to do really what they feel passionate about. So that's my website, which is Your Awakening to Miracles.
Mm,
I believe there's going to be some links
I will
you're
definitely have
going
the
to share.
links and yeah,
Yeah.
show notes.
So I think those are the most important ones.
All right, excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what you do in the world. And oh, actually, one other thing. What is the name of the book? Can people, and where can people buy the book? Is that on Amazon or?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, and it has a title of Life Works 2020,
Hmm.
How Our Vision Made Us Unstoppable.
Ah, all right, excellent. Well, I'll be sure and put that in the show notes as well. So in
Hmm.
case someone wants to be able to read your chapter. And
Exactly. They're both available in physical
okay,
form and then as an ebook.
excellent. All right, good deal. Well, thank you again for being with us today. And I'm sure that you've had helped some people kind of think about things a little bit from a think about their lives and how they can do um, how they can create um, really visualize and create the life of their dreams. And I think that is that's definitely the first step, is start thinking about it, really start seeing it in your mind's eye. So appreciate you sharing that with us today.
Yes, I love to share that. And thank you for having me on your show, Gloria.
Thank you. And thank all of you out there listening and watching. I really appreciate you as well. And as always, I encourage you now to go out there and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.